They say family is supposed to be the safest place in the world, but in the Braxton family, family has become the most dangerous weapon anyone could hold. Everything that once felt soft, warm, and loyal has now turned cold, sharp, and terrifying. This time, the drama didn't come from Instagram lives, podcast meltdowns, or reality TV confessionals. This time, the chaos came from something no celebrity, no singer, no sister wants to see parked outside their door: federal cars, federal jackets, and federal files with printed names. And sitting right there, in bold black ink, was the name Towanda Braxton. Yes, Towanda Braxton, the sister who once stood on stages talking about peace, balance, and keeping the family together, was now the center of a federal investigation that had the entire entertainment world frozen. At first, the internet laughed, thinking it was just another Braxton storyline. People joked that maybe it was a leaked trailer for a reboot. But when reporters confirmed that the FBI's Atlanta division had opened a case involving bankruptcy fraud, asset concealment, and misreported income, the internet stopped breathing. Because this wasn't a rumor. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't television. This was the law. And the twist that turned the whole thing nuclear was the second name that appeared in the paperwork: Tamar Braxton. The second that detail hit the blogs, everything shifted. Because Tamar Braxton was suddenly tangled in paperwork she never asked for, tied to a mess she didn't create, and dragged into a federal case she didn't want her name anywhere near. Years ago, Tamar Braxton had given Towanda Braxton $35,000. Tamar said it was a loan. Towanda said it was a gift. And what should have been a simple sister-to-sister financial disagreement suddenly became the very foundation of a federal crime. Under U.S. Code 18 Section 152, lying about a loan in a bankruptcy case isn't an oops, it's fraud. And when investigators saw that Towanda listed that money as a gift, they immediately wondered, why would she change the word? What was she trying to protect? And why did Tamar's name appear more than once across the filings? The moment this detail leaked publicly, the internet split into two armies. Hashtag Team Tamar said Tamar had every right to protect herself. Hashtag Team Towanda insisted Tamar had betrayed her own blood. In the Braxton world, loyalty turned into accusation, and sisterhood turned into suspicion. But what nobody realized was that this didn't just start today. This story had been brewing quietly, secretly, for years, long before fans ever caught a hint of it. Back in the old reality TV days, Tamar once snapped at Towanda and said, "I know where you live because I helped you." It sounded dramatic then, but it sounds prophetic now. Because that same house Tamar helped Towanda move into was later transferred into Towanda's husband's name right before the bankruptcy filing. To fans it seemed like family helping family. But to the FBI, it looked like intentional concealment, a strategic move to hide assets before filing. And things got worse. When investigators dug deeper, they allegedly uncovered that Towanda had been using Tamar's credit card for years. Not small charges. Not emergencies. We're talking multiple phone lines, recurring bills, thousands of dollars, and years of activity. A pattern that looked a lot more like dependency or exploitation than simple borrowing. When this detail hit the internet, everything exploded. Old clips resurfaced. Fans started piecing together moments from past seasons. And hashtag Braxton fraud began trending. Meanwhile, Tamar Braxton stayed completely silent. And anyone who knows Tamar knows silence is never an accident. Silence means strategy. Silence means danger. Silence means something massive is moving behind the scenes. And at the same time, even Toni Braxton, the calmest, the softest, the most private sister, started pulling away from Towanda. Toni quietly stepped back from shared projects, avoided public appearances, and cleared her name from anything that could tie her to this mess. Because when the FBI starts circling, even family can become radioactive. Then came the morning that shattered the entire Braxton legacy. Around 5 in the morning, federal vehicles pulled up to Towanda's home. Neighbors peeked out of their windows. Paparazzi arrived. Helicopters circled. And by noon, the internet was drowning in the same headline, Towanda Braxton arrested. The footage was surreal. The same Towanda fans once saw laughing on stage, now walking out surrounded by agents. handcuffs, cold faces, cameras everywhere. But the detail that twisted the knife in everyone's chest was the rumor that Tamar Braxton had cooperated. Fans argued all day. Some said Tamar betrayed her. Others said Tamar simply refused to go down for something she didn't do. One viral comment said, "If my sister uses my name in fraud, I'm protecting me first." And millions agreed. Because love is love, but prison is real. The FBI's questioning of Towanda reportedly lasted hours. They pressed her on transfers, unreported income, hidden accounts, credit lines, business filings, house deeds, everything. But what shocked the investigators the most were voice notes they allegedly obtained, featuring Towanda discussing how to protect the house. To a normal person, that sounds like safety. To prosecutors, that sounds like intent to conceal assets. The moment those recordings came out, the Braxton family shut down completely. Tony went silent. Trina vanished from social media. Tamar stayed quiet and composed. And the fans could feel it. Something was collapsing behind closed doors. Something heavy. Something permanent. Because the Braxtons weren't dealing with a scandal anymore. They were dealing with the possibility that one wrong statement, one wrong piece of paperwork, one wrong signature could drag more sisters into this case. And suddenly, love didn't matter. Unity didn't matter. Sisterhood didn't matter. Only survival did. The deeper investigators dug, the more Tamar's involvement shifted from suspicion to clarity. Tamar's legal team provided bank receipts, wire transfers, escrow documents, and exact proof that the $35,000 was a real loan, not a gift. Each receipt had dates, codes, and verifiable digital footprints. And once those receipts hit the federal folder, Towanda's entire narrative began falling apart like wet paper. Because if you lie once in a bankruptcy filing, every other statement becomes questionable. Suddenly, Towanda's businesses were examined. Her husband's consulting company was flagged. Even offshore transfers reportedly came under review. Reports used terms fans were never ready to associate with the Braxton name: multi-year concealment scheme, asset deviation, false financial declarations. Fans were stunned. The Braxtons were collapsing under the weight of something bigger than sister fights, bigger than drama, bigger than TV. And then another bomb dropped. Towanda's old 2005 forgery and theft arrest resurfaced. A case the world had forgotten. But prosecutors don't forget patterns. With that old case suddenly being circulated online, fans began to believe that Towanda might have been hiding financial trouble longer than anyone realized. Then came whispers of a plea deal. Insiders claimed prosecutors might reduce Towanda's sentence if she named anyone else connected to her filings. Anyone whose accounts were used. Anyone who knew anything. Anyone who signed anything. And that's when real fear hit the rest of the family. Because if Towanda named even one sister, even accidentally, the entire Braxton legacy could collapse forever. Tony's distance suddenly made sense. Tamar's silence felt protective, not guilty. Trina's disappearance looked strategic. In this family, silence wasn't avoidance. Silence was armor. The sisters stopped posting completely. No joint photos. No TikToks. No hints of reunion. Just emptiness. Silence heavier than betrayal. Silence louder than screaming. Silence that said, "We're all afraid of what comes next." Meanwhile, fans were rewatching old Tamar interviews and finally understanding her pain. The world remembered Tamar crying, talking about how she always carried the family, how she always ended up blamed, how she always felt used. Back then, people thought she was overreacting. Now, those clips looked like warnings she'd been trying to give for years. The internet turned fast. People who once criticized Tamar began defending her. They said she had tried to help. She had tried to support. She had tried to protect. And instead of loyalty, she got dragged into federal filings using her name without permission. Suddenly, Towanda's decisions didn't look like mistakes, they looked like betrayal. Investigators reportedly continued pulling records, reviewing transfers, rechecking years of paperwork. Towanda now faced serious charges: concealment of assets, fraudulent declarations, financial misrepresentation, possible wire issues. If convicted, she could face real prison time. And the sisters? They weren't standing beside her. Not this time. Not anymore. Because the Braxton family, once known for harmony and unity, was now fractured beyond recognition. The public watched a dynasty fall apart in real time, not because of rumors or feuds, but because of legal consequences too heavy to ignore. The same family that once sang about love was now bound by silence, fear, and federal scrutiny. Years ago, Tamar said something painful, something raw, something people laughed at: "The only time we come together is when the cameras roll." Back then, it sounded dramatic. Today, it sounds like prophecy. Because when the cameras stopped rolling, the real truth walked in wearing a badge. Towanda's future now sits in the hands of a federal judge. Her sisters remain silent. Tamar refuses to speak publicly, not out of guilt, but out of survival. And the fans can't tell who's innocent, who's guilty, or who's broken. But one thing is clear: in the Braxton family, love isn't always protection. Sometimes love becomes evidence. And in this family, when the pressure hits, someone always breaks first.